Good morning and welcome to the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2. I'm David Lovejoy.
And I'm Mirth Merriment, Chuckalicious, Chuck Williams.
And Miss Rhonda had to run away. She had to go get to a meeting this morning, but that doesn't stop us from doing what we do each and every Wednesday. Our man Jody Holland joins us, and we get a little bit better. Jody, how you doing this week?
I am doing fantastic. It's a great week. And, had a little bit of snow over the week, but other than that, I'm ready for springtime next week.
But I know the Monday is springtime, and we talk about this time of the year and time, the time change. You want to get more active, you want to do more things. And today we're going to hit a little bit on time management, which I think is very key. Go right ahead, Jody.
So, yeah, I do think it's interesting. You know, we talked about the idea of getting up at 5 a.m. and, you know, spending that first hour doing everything that you're supposed to do, that 20-20-20 concept. But I think a lot of people, they get into their work day and then everything just goes crazy. Like you have a great plan and then the plan just gets derailed and you do the best that you can. So I came up with a few different theories that I think really kind of help. One of those, if you ever read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, which I think should be required reading for everybody. But in that, he talks about what was called the Eisenhower matrix. And that is when you have a task come at you, you've got to determine, is this important and urgent? Is it important but not urgent? Is it urgent but not important? Or is it not urgent and not important? And when you learn to categorize it into those 4 quadrants, you figure out what you don't actually need to do. And I think that's more important than just about anything else in time management is what is it that we shouldn't give our time to, not how do we cram more into our time? Because when you start eliminating things that simply don't matter, you free up time to do the things that matter the most. Simple examples of that would be like some of the more famous, specifically tech entrepreneurs. They'll wear a black t-shirt and jeans every day.
Right.
They go, I don't want to spend 4 minutes deciding what to wear. It's not important. I can wear the same thing every day and I'm just fine. So they'll do things like that that eliminate decisions so that time is easy. I kind of modified that for a number of executives whose desks get piled up and then they lose time trying to find stuff. And I use this kind of elevated file folder system with green, yellow, and red folders. Green is this is really important and people are going to ask about it. You should get it done. Yellow is at some point they'll probably ask about it and you might want to pay attention. Red is if nobody asks about this week, throw it away.
Right.
I have found that about 80% of stuff goes in the red folder. Most people, like we hand out tasks to people and then we don't think about them again, ever. And so a lot of stuff really wasn't urgent or important, or it was just urgent but not important. And that's when you just kind of get rid of that stuff. But I find that one to be really interesting. And then the other one I find interesting is called Parkinson's Law. And that is we will expand the work to fill the time allotted. Give yourself 8 hours to do something, it'll take 8 hours to do it. If you only had 3 hours to do something, guess what? It's taking about 3 hours. And so you have to be realistic in how much time you can diminish it to. But if you narrow down the time, what it does is it makes your mind focus like, oh, I got to get this done. And I'm going to make sure I get it done in the right time allotted. So don't give yourself too much time to do stuff. Kind of narrow the time and go, okay, in the next 60 minutes, I'm going to do X. And you just get after it for the next 60 minutes.
Jody,
so those that I think are important.
Jody, you know, time management is very, very, very important. But what about priority management? That jumps right up in there, and that can blow your whole time management scale. What about that?
That's actually a really good point because time actually can't be managed technically. Right. You're going to have the same 86,400 seconds a day, the same 24 hours in a day, no matter who you are. So you can't manage that. But to your point with priority management, you can only manage what you allow into your time. And as an example, what I've done with my own employees, and I've been doing this since about 2003, is we came up with what we call a 2x4 system. So what are the 2 things that you're working on right now that are important? And what are the 4 things that are coming after that? by doing this, every time I go to him, I'm like, Chuck, I've got the greatest idea ever.
Right.
Then you could go, okay, here's my 2 and here's my 4. Which do I replace? Because you can only have the 2 and 4 on
Right.
your primary list. And I'll say about 99 times out of 100, I go, never mind. It's not more important than those things. But you have to have a good relationship with your boss, and the boss has to want to play along on this, that you keep the priorities right so you don't override the things that actually matter more.
Are we still in time to get more work done, or are we still in time to enjoy life?
Yeah. And, Oscar Wilde once said, time spent on something wasteful, if it was enjoyable, was not time wasted.
Wasted. Right.
And so I think we have to look at it from the perspective of you're balancing time the best that you can, or you're creating harmony for the things that you do. I don't think life is just about figuring out how to work more.
Hmm.
There is a point where you need to stop and go do the part of your life that you actually enjoy. And the 30 lessons, can't remember the exact title. I just read a little summary of it yesterday, but it was an interview with 1,000 different elderly individuals who believed they were within a few years of dying. And they asked, what's the most important lessons in life that you've learned? And none of them said, I wish I would have spent more time just working.
Yeah.
Right.
But you want to spend your time at work in a wise way so that it gets done, so that as soon as you're done working, you can go spend your time with your family and your friends, that kind of stuff. So what they all said was, most important lesson is embrace the people that you love. Most important lesson is do a great job at what you do to set a good example, but also don't forget, nobody remembers you for the car you drove. And so
Right.
things like that became the lessons that they shared. And you think about when you're running out of time, you look at it from a completely different perspective, that I wish I would have spent my time on, and it's usually friends and family and seeing the world and things like that. So I think the balance is, if you can block your focus well enough that you really hone in on what you're supposed to do for the 8 hours a day, then you get to just have your 8 hours to go have fun and hang out with family and do your hobbies and all that kind of stuff, and then 8 hours for sleep. If you think of it in 3/8, I think you feel more balanced or more harmonious.
Mm. And that's really what we're looking for, is that balance. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jody's going to give us some tips on how we can manage our time more effectively and efficiently. It's the Wednesday edition of The Chat right here on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10.